These comments, if you really think the paper is bad and it should not be published, you can also just not provide comments because it's a lot of work to go through that process. And if you feel that the author has not done any effort to provide a good manuscript, and anyway the data they're showing is crap, why spend another 2 hours to make all these comments? So one thing I'd like also to mention is that when the paper is sent back, that's typically between a month to a year later, the paper will be sent back to the reviewer with the rebuttal later. Okay, and you need to read the rebuttal, make sure that they address all the points, and then you need to reread the manuscript carefully. And typically, you know, when the people submit 6 months later, you totally forgot about that study, so you have to do the work again. So that's again typically another 2 or 3 hours of work that you have to provide. And then at that point, you don't need to write a full report. You can write a much shorter sort of like report. I had here a couple of few examples, but maybe I'll skip that to make it shorter and also leave Kurt to talk, and we have more time for discussion. But I could provide them if you want later on. Anyway, the point was not to read them, but just to see the different style of report that can be written. Right? I don't think we have time for that. So just a bit of perspective before I hand. So you know, many of you want to gain experience in reviewing papers. So how do you become a better reviewer? So one thing is that you need to start early. And I give paper in my lab to the different people in my lab to review, and I will review the paper with them. So I'll ask them to write the first comments, and then I'll edit that, or I rewrite it from scratch, and then I show them what I've done. But if your advisor does not give you papers, you have to be proactive, just asking, you know, could I see how the process is working? Can I maybe participate, or at least see how you're doing it, so that I can learn from you? So if you don't be shy, just ask. Then when you're doing the reviewer process, the first time I was doing it as a student, I would also ask my colleagues. So there is a peer review on my peer evaluation, but that gives you some feedbacks. And then that's something I still do a lot, is that I read the other reviewer comments. Okay? Typically, when the paper is sent back to the author, the editor will show what was the other reviewer comments, and I like to see what the other reviewer had in mind, and it also educates myself. There are critiques of the systems, and if you read a little bit about it, some of the critique is that, well, you know, bad papers still get published even when they are fraudulent. As a reviewer, you should not try to suspect everything being fraudulent. Actually, I think this is maybe not the task of a reviewer. So yes, some bad papers still get published. Sometimes it takes really a lot of time to publish. You know, like you submit, it typically takes over a year now in the process. So that really slows down the whole process. You know, you have the data, you're excited about it, but it will take you at least a year until the paper is accepted, and then it takes another 6 months for the paper to be published. So there is a big gap there. Some people feel that the journal has too much power of deciding actually the impact of the paper by just accepting or rejecting, and also that now, because there is less and less funding, reviewer might be less, more and more biased. Sorry. Can I just answer something? Sure. People could think that maybe, you know, there might be some advantage for a reviewer to turn down a paper because that would reduce the portfolio of that competitor. And so some solution that's been brought recently, some people suggest that we should have double-blinded review, and in some fields they're doing that. I don't think that would work because it's very easy to guess where the manuscript comes from. There is a call for have more transparency in the review process. So some journals have started that, where they will publish the reviewer comments with the papers. So the reader can actually see what was the initial flow in the paper, and so that they get more information about the whole process, and then for the journal, it's a way to ensure to their readership that we actually did some good job there in reviewing the paper. So we might see that more and more often.
The reviewers in that case stay blinded.
The reviewers still remain anonymous, but the problem is that people say, and that's what some people fear, is that in that system is that you can start to guess more often who is the reviewer, and some reviewer might be afraid to comment on certain things. But some authors say, well, sometimes these reviewers, they're asking too many things, and they're not being sort of like fair, so sort of like force them to be exposed might enforce the fact that they will be more fair in that process. There's pros and cons. Some other people say we shouldn't have no review, we should just publish the things how it is, and some journals do that. And say just the public should then judge. If the paper gets cited, that means that the work was good. If it doesn't get cited, then we should just forget about that paper. So that is another way to approach things. The other thing also you can have now, and you see that more and more often in these post-publication comments, where the reader can actually add comment on the manuscript after it's been published. So all these things here are a possible solution to try to improve the system. If you are interested in that, you can read up. I mean, there is a bit of a debate and so on. You can see it through just reading the Wikipedia website. Nature, actually, I didn't read all the papers, but they have what they call like online forum where they publish a lot of paper about the peer review process, and you can go to any journal website to look at their own sort of like guideline for reviewer if you want to learn more through that process. So I think for the sake of time, you rather want to have the question at the end. So
yes.
I'll just let you.
Indeed. Let's do questions again. For the latecomer, there's a chair here if you don't want to sit on the floor. Here.
Oh, sure.
And so this is Dr. Kurt Hübner. He's from the Institute of European Studies, and he will be talking about his experience as both a reviewer and a reviewee, and discuss the debate about paradigmatic orientations.
Yeah, thank you. This was a
great...
No, I think it's fine. I skipped the
Right.
PowerPoint and I make some kind of comments because there would be a repetition. And I think from an operational point of view, this was a very great presentation. I myself a trained economist and also a computer scientist. So I'm very much in this field. I guess most of my life actually I spent in some kind of interdisciplinary context. So I'm belonging to one of the rare species who survived as a kind of interdisciplinary scholar. Because as you know, this is not the regular way to even, you are in CFIS, or part of some of you, it's not a regular kind of career path you would envisage. You are in your field, and that's the first critical point I want to say. But there are various ways how you are looking into peer review processes. If you have once to prepare, maybe you already had to do that, a CV, you have to list all your publications, peer-reviewed journals, and then the rest. Even if you would write a book, there is the question whether the manuscript has been reviewed or not. If you would have publications only in non-peer-reviewed journals, you wouldn't get any job at all. So the peer review, whether you like it or not, is a very essential process of self-control in academia. So that's something you have to be aware from the very, very beginning. This implies also, if you are thinking about this is my guess at least, that you want to start your own journal and you would be a reviewer, as a reviewer acting, you have to think about the implications. What are you publishing? Why don't you publish particular kind of articles? Why you are going this and this pathway? So there's a lot of thinking in advance if you are planning to do things like this. I'm sitting myself, and I think there are 3 editorial boards, and I'm reviewing on a regular basis. Not too many articles, not as many as you. Maybe 3 to 5 per year for various kind of international journals, sometimes also for some publishers would come to me with a book manuscript. In this case, actually, at least in my field, you're getting really money for that. You might have like 50 British pound or whatever the publishing house is coming from, but they would give you actual money. Whereas on a journal base, it's all pretty much like you just said. It's you're part of the community, and it's a part of the service. And as you would expect when you are trying to post an article, you can actually somewhere publish, that your colleagues would really carefully and would make their evaluation. You are doing the same for others. Now, in all those, generally spoken, in my field, in all the journals I'm active and I'm being asked for doing the reviews, it's always a double-blinded process. So I would never know, I would never do the cover letter anyway, is I don't see, that's the same like in your case, but I wouldn't be aware, I'm not explicit, that who was writing the manuscript, you know. Sure, sometimes it's so close maybe to your field that you can easily guess it. You can look at the literature at the end.